So I built this sidewalk and stoop 25 years ago, actually. 25 years ago this year. The sidewalk did not settle at all for 25 years. I am just gonna wash it, and I just put an algae killer down now. Basically liquid chlorine, diluted, heavily diluted. That just kills the algae spores. I'm gonna let that dry on. Tomorrow I'm gonna come and pressure wash everything. And then once it's all pressure washed and dried, I'm going to do whatever repairs I think need. The sidewalk looks really good, but the front stoop settled in the edges probably about a ½ an inch over 25 years. So I'm gonna raise those stones up and get those back to where they should be. And then once it's all pressure washed and repaired, then I am going to put polymeric sand on. 25 years ago, we didn't use polymeric sand. So this time, if I can get at least an inch depth, I'm gonna aim for an inch and a half depth between the pavers tomorrow, then I'll be able to put polymeric sand down. So this is what it looks like with liquid pool shock, diluted, heavily diluted. I think it's a 1/4 gallon per 4 gallons. So, and I just let it dry on. It smells like a swimming pool, so it's not bad. Try not to get it on too many of the plants. And I'm gonna let that dry overnight. And then I'll come back tomorrow and pressure wash everything, clean it up. Here's a view from the driveway. You see it turns, the chlorine turns foamy white when it starts activating. And then it'll dry, and then it'll all wash off tomorrow. Smells like a swimming pool. So it's the day after I sprayed the diluted pool chlorine on the sidewalk here. That just kills the mold spores. So hopefully it won't come back quite as quick because there is a lot of shade on this sidewalk. And you can see, started to turn brown, started to kill some of the growth on there. So we're here to pressure wash it today. And then I might repair the top landing today, or I might do that the day I do the polymeric sand. But we'll see how the day goes. So for equipment, I have my John Deere pressure washer. This one is 3,500 PSI, 3.7 gallons. My backpack blower, garden hose. I always wear my mudding boots. I have a surface cleaner, and I have my length of pressure washer hose. So I'm gonna get everything set up, and we'll start with the stoop. Got to make sure you don't hit the house best you can, and get this sidewalk cleaned up. So this is after you wash it and extract all the sand. I pretty much got a good 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches all the way through. So once this dries, all that I could fill with polymeric sand. Here's a front step. That's effervescence. That's like a salt, basically, from how I understand it, that comes out, that oozes out of the concrete. So that's all that is. And then I got to reset this bluestone, bring it up to the layer, to the level there. A little bit of the paint fell off right there. So I tried not to go too close to the house, but just a splash of it. It's aluminum. It's like aluminum flashing, so the paint just peels off of it. But that's all the damage to the house, to the paint. But there, that's what they look like when they're washed. Now I'm gonna start picking up my pressure washing stuff. And I think I'm gonna go wash another one while this dries. Big difference just washing it though. All the mold and algae and grass is gone. It'll look really nice once it's the polymeric sand is in there. So let's go wash another one. I don't know if it'll be in this video, but I'm gonna let this dry. And then I'll come back to do the rest of the restoration on the sidewalk. So here's a rubber roller vibratory plate compactor. That's a regular plate compactor, has metal plate on it, and it just vibrates on the ground. That's the old way of doing polymeric sand. That's used for stone, dirt, base material. But I don't use that anymore for polymeric sand. It makes a dusty mess, clogs up the carburetor, the air cleaner, and you breathe half of it in, and it just does not do that good of a job. So then they came out with these. You can see there's rubber rollers. This one, particular one, has 4 of them on the bottom. And it hits harder, actually, than the plate compactor. It weighs 380 pounds, I think. You're not lifting it. That's why there's a hook on the top for a excavator. And that does so much better getting that polymeric sand in before you activate it. You'll see that on the upcoming job when I use it. So here's what it looks like once it's washed. No polymeric sand yet. It's dried. The surface is dry, but the joints down bottom are not dry. In between the pavers, you can see some of the dark spots. So I definitely cannot do the polymeric sand today. So I will come back another day and do the polymeric sand and do the repairs up here, because that's would just be all mud. So I'll come back to do that and all the repairs. But that's what it looks like when it's cleaned. Big difference. Those are all just wet spots. And they got plenty of depth for the polymeric sand. You can look down in there and you can see that there's definitely some space in there for the polymeric sand. Right there, there's that depth right there. That's perfect. 1 to 2 inches whole way through. So come back in a couple days and we'll finish this up. There it is. That's a 45-degree herringbone right there. So we're back at that paver sidewalk that I pressure washed the other day. I got my EZG vibratory roller compactor. Got my track buggy just to carry the polymeric sand and the tools. Pavers are all dry. I got to clean them off with a backpack blower. They're all clean. And then the repair, I'm going to do that right there. I'm going to take those up, repair that before I do anything, because you can't walk on the polymeric sand once it's in. So for tools, I got base material, which is it's not screenings, but it's stone dust. It's not the fines. So that's what we use for base material for the fine coating around here. So we have, they call it stone dust. So we have that for the front stoop. And as for tools, I have my broom, my hand tamp, dustpan, hand broom, backpack blower, trowel, my paver mallet, a level, and I have my structure bond made by Technoseal, just in case. I think that one cap, that one right there, I think that's loose. So I'm gonna tip that back. I can't lift it all the way out because it'll disturb the compacted base material behind it. But I'm gonna tip it back and put some structure bond behind it, underneath it. And I'm gonna check the front ones, make sure those are all secured. And then after that, I will, after the stoop is all set, then I'm gonna do the polymeric sand on the brickwork. So I'm gonna blow it off first, so these helicopters from the maple tree that's right next to us, I can get rid of as many of them as possible, because you don't want those in there if you can help it. So we're gonna get this one done today with the help of the tools that I just mentioned. So I'm gonna call this job complete, except for the picking up the tools, my favorite part of every day. Top landing, I just washed it just to get dust off. So I did not polymeric sand that, because if that ever does need to be reset again, it makes it a little bit easier. But it's been sitting for 23 years, so it's not gonna have to be reset for years and years. So that block there was loose, the cap, so I secured that with the adhesive. So that's done. I did the polymeric sand, and you can see nice even coat, and the water's not absorbing anymore. And if you notice, I started down here, the low end. You always start at the low end. Well, I do. I've been doing this for quite a few years. You start at the low end, you activate it with the water. Once you clean it, get it where you want it, the height, the elevation you want it. You activate the bottom with the water. You let it sit for 20 to 30 seconds and it gets sticky. Then you keep it moist, move up another 10 feet, 5 feet, however long you want to do it. And then get that activated. And then, because once it's activated, it doesn't absorb water. And little by little, water is all going to come downhill. So if you see here, the water is just pooling on top now. So if I had started all the way up at the top, and then any excess water would have washed through all this unactivated sand, I would have washed out my sand. By doing this way, this is the first sand that was wet, and it's actually sticky now. So if you actually touch it, you'll get a gluey feeling on your fingers. And so as you work your way up, any water that's coming this way, it's already going to be floating on the surface. And you don't want it to dry, is the big thing. You don't want it to dry until you get the whole thing saturated. On a hot day, it's really hard to do polymeric sand properly to get the full depth cure. But it's about 60 degrees today, 58, 60 degrees. Perfect for it. And I'm going to call this job complete. It's starting to dry a little bit, you can see just by the color changes and the reflection from the sun. There you go, you can start seeing it drying right there. This job is complete. So here's what it looks like once the polymeric sand dries. And the front stoop is dry, mostly dry. You can see the stone dust in the joints is still a little wet. Now, one thing with polymeric sand, it takes 60 to 90 days to fully cure. It's actually a chemical curing. It does dry out water-wise, but it will stay rubbery for 60 to 90 days. And after that, that's as pure as it's gonna get. So if you look down here, you can see it's just touching it. I can't get it to go, but if I can still push in it. So after 24 hours, you can walk on it, is what I say. And then putting heavy furniture and stuff like that, I tell them to wait as long as possible. Like here's all the extra on the end. See, that's the benefit of polymeric sand. Stuff like that won't grow in the joints, but you got to maintain it. It's every pretty much 5 years the polymer starts failing, and you really should wash it, power wash it, and reinstall new polymeric sand.